I want them to open, and I want them to open as soon as possible. And I want the state to open. But I wasn't happy with Brian Kemp. I will tell you that right now. And I want the people in Georgia to be safe. And I don't want this thing to flare up because you're deciding to do something that is not in the guidelines.
That was President Trump criticizing Georgia Governor Brian Kemp for reopening some businesses like hair salons and spas and tattoo parlors today in his state. Our next guest is someone who also believes that that is happening too soon. Georgia Congressman Doug Collins joins us now. He is the ranking member of the Judiciary Committee. Congressman, good morning, and thank you so much for being here. I know you disagree with this move. Why not now?
Well, it's not that we disagree. I think, Sandra, this is the perspective. I think the president said it very well. We all want to see the state, not just Georgia, but the country open back up. There's ways to do that. The concern that was had here, and I think the concern that was expressed is how we're going about this, and it's following the guidelines and certain businesses and the randomness of those businesses being opened up, while at the same time we still have an executive order here that is a stay-at-home order for Georgia, which means that everybody's supposed to be staying at home, but yet we're opening up these businesses. The other concern I had was just simply from that I was hearing from my local health communities, my local communities, is they were basically, it was a blanket order from the state and not taking in some local input and especially health input. I still have an area up in my part of Georgia where my district is and where I live that is still seeing increases in patients. I think we can open back up the state. There's ways to do it. It just needs to be a measured approach. And I think this was what was lacking in this is the understanding, as you heard even in some of the reports earlier, on where do we go about this. It's not about letting business open back up. It's about the citizens actually feeling comfortable about going to the businesses as well.
So, Congressman, the governor said in this statement on reopening and responding to some of the criticisms for him making this decision, he says, now with favorable data and approval from state officials, we're taking another measured step forward by opening shuttered businesses for limited operations. I know these hardworking Georgians will prioritize the safety of their employees and customers. You just heard from that report there from Jonathan Siri, who was pointing out that some businesses, while they're being able to reopen, they're imposing some of their own restrictions to keep their customers and their employees safe. You're already seeing that happen. So if you don't open now, how do you do it? And what metric would lead you to believe that now is the time, or a few days or a few weeks from now?
Well, it's going to have to depend on a level of comfort with business having the equipment. One of the things that was mentioned earlier by one of the gentlemen on your report is having the proper PPE, the proper equipment that they need, and making sure that they can get that, so that they can put in place things like testing for their either testing for their own employees, or also making sure that they can take temperatures, they can screen people as they come in, whether it be for whatever service they're providing. This is going to be an opening that needs to happen, but it's also an opening that we need to make sure people are comfortable with. That's why the president put out the guidelines that he did. We need to follow those guidelines, and if we get ahead of those guidelines, I think that's the national standard. Every state has the ability to do what they want to do, and the governor has that right to do it, and I respect that. I, just like him and the president, want to see it open back up, but it's a balancing of listening to all interest and not just simply saying, here's the interest that we're going to open back up, and we will do that. But also, you made a very good point. Georgians are smart folks. They'll do what they need to do, and we'll work through this and make sure that we can keep it safe. But we also don't want to give a false security that just because it seems to be better in certain parts of the state, there are other parts of our state that still have issues that they're dealing with, and we don't want to see those cross-transfer between counties and other parts of the regions.
Congressman, recognizing that you're running for Senate against Kelly Loeffler, the senator there in your state, she has voiced support for the governor's decision here, and her spokesperson put out a statement saying Senator Loeffler, like Governor Kemp, is working to make sure we reopen our economy and get back to work in a safe and healthy way. I'd be curious your response to that, and knowing that we have seen some protests emerge throughout the country in areas where some of the residents do not believe that they're opening fast enough, Congressman. How far would you advise the White House and President Trump to go to advise Governor Kemp to reverse course on his decision?
Well, I think the White House and the president spoke pretty clearly on what he advised and how that happened, and I'll leave that for President Trump is what he told the governor, and the governor said no. In response to Senator Loeffler, she also had a fuller statement that put out there where she said that she was fully on board with the president and she was fully on board with the governor. I understand that's an interesting answer, but at the same point in time, you need to have your own answer, and your answer would reflect what the people of Georgia are telling you. And the locals need input. Our medical community facing different areas probably have different needs than the whole state. So I think from a perspective of leadership says, here's what my decision is I've just stated out. There's concerns with this decision, but the president's made it very clear what his recommendations were. And as he said last night in the interview, he spoke to the governor about that. I'll leave that between the governor and the president. But as far as Senator Loeffler's statement, if that's what she feels, then she states it. The problem is she's also stated she both believed in both of them, not just one.
Congressman, we've got to leave it there. A few seconds left. Vice President Mike Pence putting out an optimistic message that he thinks a lot of this could be behind us by early summer, past Memorial Day. Do you see that happening?
If we do what we're supposed to do and follow the guidelines that the president and this task force has put out, I think we can get there, and we'll be starting a look to see how this country can begin to come past this. We will get through this. That's an optimistic part of view that does not simply say, I want it to happen. It's because we see the numbers going in that direction. I think Vice President reflects what we see in the longer trend in most of our areas, that by that time we should see this, because social distancing and the stuff have worked.
Yeah. And we need a hopeful message. We're all in this together. Congressman Doug Collins, really appreciate you coming on this morning. Thanks so much, and the best to your state.
Sandra,
thank you.
It's always good to be with you. Take care.